This is Leisha Holmes, and I'm your host on the Recruiters Recruitment podcast brought to you by Hoxo Media. And I am beyond excited today because this is our inaugural interview from Japan. I am very delighted to be joined today by the co-founders of Cornerstone Recruitment. This is Alex Zoboli and Matt Nicholls, and welcome to you today all the way from Japan. How are you?
We're good.
We're good.
Yeah, good to be here from Tokyo.
Thank you for having us.
And how are things there? How's it been? We're recording this in September 2021. How have the last 18 months been in Tokyo?
Well, it's been a pretty crazy 18 months all around the world, hasn't it? I think in Tokyo we've been a bit lucky, I guess, because we've not had crazy lockdowns. I think the worst thing is that restaurants don't serve alcohol at the moment, but apart from that, we're in the office and business is running, so it's not too bad, basically.
That's great. And what's the reason for no alcohol? I don't understand.
We do neither. So you should ask like Japanese government again.
The trains are packed, the restaurants are packed.
People are going to work,
but there's no alcohol.
So I don't know. Obviously, there's some link, and I'm saying that as a teetotaler, but even I'm a bit perplexed by that. That doesn't make any sense. So you're just driving it underground, but there you go, black market.
Yeah, that's it. That's what we do.
Keys popping up in Tokyo. There you go.
Yeah.
Now, you obviously have been following the podcast, which is absolutely wonderful because we are thrilled that it's growing in its global audience, which is just brilliant. Yeah. The community just continues to feed back to us that, we're getting people all across the world who want to share their experiences as leaders. And the reason that I wanted you to come on today is to talk about how you yourselves have actually launched and globally scaled up a business. So, give us some context. Tell us a little bit about yourselves, both of you.
Do you want to go first? All right. Matt and I met, when did we meet? 6 years ago?
Yeah.
6 years ago, 7 years ago, something like that, basically, where we were both in Japan. Matt a little bit longer than me, but basically we were both working for Hayes and Robert Waters in Japan. And, I'm Italian, but I worked in London for 7 years before coming to Japan. And then Matt joined the bilingual arm of Recruit as a managing director at the time, right? And Recruit, for people that don't know it, is actually the fourth largest recruitment business worldwide. Is a Japanese conglomerate, huge,
massive Japanese recruitment business. They are huge in the domestic market, but they had a kind of a very small business focused on international companies. Bilingual candidates in Japan, right? And that's where we met, right?
Then where we met, right? And I think what we did for them is actually what really put us on the map. I think in Japan and to a certain extent in a regional, scale. We basically built that business from nothing, right, to around 200 people when we left.
It was 15 people
when we joined.
And it had been established for 6 years, so it wasn't like. It had been struggling a bit, and then 4 years later, it was 220 people, and we were making more than $50 million a year. I think that was what we really achieved together, growing that business to like a massive scale, which helped us to get where we are today.
I want to pick up on that because obviously I recruit for the recruitment sector. So if I think about the typical recruitment company, particularly in the UK, is between 5 and 15 people. That's the most common SME size that there is. How do you take a business that has been going, like you say, it's been established, it's at 15 heads. I don't know what the sort of NFI is on that, but let's just say it's making enough money clearly to survive.
Yes.
How did you then take it from that, where it was possibly, quite bubbling along, to growing it? How did you do that? Talk us through the steps.
Well, I think the business had a brand already, right? So it was already part of a
very well-established brand,
a big Japanese company, and it had the resources. And I think the Japan market is a unique market in many ways, in that it's got two sides to it, right? It's got the domestic market, which is for local Japanese companies, where they only hire people that just speak Japanese, and the international market. And I think Recruit, the holding company, never really understood how to approach and leverage their brand with international companies. And I think that's what we did step one really well. And we managed to kind of sell this vision of how big this company could be to enough people, and it really snowballed, didn't it?
Yeah, I think that there also was a space, for business that size, in that space in Japan, Robert Waters are market leader, and they've been forever. And then the kind of the podium, I would say, it was up for grabs. You have the Hayes, the Michael Page, and a few other companies that they're far distant, I think, from the number one. And I think we had the vision. I think we put the hard work, and clearly we managed to find the right elements to make it happen. I think that there was also the space to have another really big business in that.
Yeah, I think that was it. We saw that. We saw that,
from the beginning,
this business could be maybe the number 2 or number 3 recruitment business in Japan in a relatively short period of time, if we could convince enough other people that was going to happen. And I remember when we first stood in front of 15 people and said, hey, in a year or 2 years, I can't remember what we said, I think we're going to be 100 people. And everybody looked back at us like, no chance, absolutely no chance. But then we worked.
Yeah, we're pretty confident, and I think what we said from the beginning was if we don't make it to 100 people, it is really on us, because all the ingredients were there, I think, to make it happen. We had a brand.
There's 2 elements, aren't there, and listening to you, that there was the external opportunity, like you say, you could say there was a gap in the market, and that you've got the opportunity to be able to do it, but actually internally hiring in the right people that bought into that vision, but equally, just as importantly, making sure that the ones that you want to keep were on board with it. And I think that's where a lot of recruitment businesses do get stuck, because maybe they haven't realised that those three elements, actually not 2, are actually, they're all equally important, and you have to communicate. What you clearly did, which what you just said there, Matt, you stood in front of those 15 people and said, this is where we're going to get to. And, we need to communicate. We need to explain this is where we want to be. You're on the journey with us or you're not, kind of thing. And I think it's actually quite a simple strategy to communicate. But a lot of people maybe lose that a little bit, I think, when they're sort of on this mission.
I think so.
Yeah, I think maybe one thing that actually we did that we kind of, I think, introduced, honestly, in the Japanese recruitment market, is we went aggressively and hired from competitors where at the time, I think it was a bit of a taboo, I think.
Yeah.
When we... Yeah, yeah, right. So we kind of like... Yeah, we went aggressively after, some of the big names, and it kind of, after, I think we hired some key people in the market, and people enjoyed working with us, and I think that it kind of then the reputation grow, and it was a bit easier.
I think, what also really helped that we both worked in recruitment in England previously, because I don't want to say the Japan market is easy. It's definitely got its own quirks which make it difficult, but it's an immature market. And I think the kind of technical level of recruiters generally is relatively low compared to the really tough, mature markets. Like if you're recruiting in London or in Sydney or in Manchester or whatever, you're probably going to be a much better recruiter than the average recruiter in Tokyo. So for us, we could bring that level of technical expertise as well, and bring up the guys to that level, and that gave us a competitive advantage, right, against some of the other firms.
Can you both hear that while people are listening? They're literally typing into Google now, recruitment in Tokyo.
We're hiring. Fine,
Yeah, it's also we operate at 40% fees, which makes a big
yeah.
Wow, that's incredible. So look, we're jumping ahead here. I think it's a very pragmatic approach that you've taken, but I think what you've said there, Alex, is absolutely right. I think having I don't want to use the word aggressive, but having an assertive, confident strategy going into, targeted people. And I see the advantage of that. And I made a really bad Rectorate joke there, but actually, I think if you're listening to this and you're in the UK, the chances of you pulling out people from competitors is probably diminished. So how creative did you have to be as you went from 100 to 200? Does it get easier? Are you creating clones? How does it work?
It got easier. I think the first 50 is tough, because you're selling a dream which people can't see, they can't visualize it, right? Yeah. So I think that was the real tough point for us. Once we got to 100, to get to 200 was easy.
Easy, yeah, very easy. The difficult was the 15 to 50, really hard.
Yeah.
50 to 100 also challenging because you need to get that middle management layer in place that will allow you to go from 100 to 200. I think that was key. 100 to 200 was, I'm not saying it was, it was actually
relatively compared to what we did. I think at that point you can market yourselves a bit more aggressively as well, because you've got a story to tell on the market, and you've done the hard bit, and you can talk about it, and people start talking about you in the market as well. You're suddenly maybe a big player. People are worried about you. We used to hear stories of our competitors, in their board meetings saying, "Hey, we've got this new company's coming. They're starting to hire people from us. What's going on?" And that in a way also creates a bit of mystique about a business. So,
well, you're seen as a destination then. I do want to pick up on something really important, actually, because again, if I think about conversations that I have where, I deal with business owners like yourselves, and, they'll say, we're at, 10, 15 heads now. 2024, we want to be at 100. And I think, well, how are you going to do that? So the scalability angle is that infrastructure that you have. And I want to really pick up on that. So when you think about when you say the 15 to 50 was probably, and I do agree, I think that's the hardest, most painful journey that any business owner goes on. So if you can think, scientifically or not, what structure did you already have, and then what did you make sure you had in place from an infrastructure that leaders can learn from to ensure they've got the right foundations basically to scale their business up?
I think it's the specifics can be quite difficult. I think we did have some decent infrastructure in place, but we changed everything with scalability in mind. So everything from the commission structure to the KPIs, to the career path, to the contracts that we would send to clients, every single aspect of the business we looked at the beginning, and we changed it with scalability in mind. And I think that's the bit I would say. I think if you really are genuinely serious about scaling a business, every decision you should make, even if there's a short-term bit of pain for that decision, should be one with how's this structure going to look when we're 100 people? How's it going to look when we're 150 people?
We also, I think, maybe like to add on that, I think we never had like a hierarchy or an org chart in mind. We always build the business around the people that we had with us. So maybe some team and some division grew a little bit faster than others, even if maybe there were not areas that were hot at the time. And then vice versa, right? Areas that were hot, and that of course everybody was investing in it. For us, maybe they were a little bit slower to be built just because we didn't have the people around it. And I think, especially coming maybe from UK, where you have lots of boutiques that are super subspecialized, and with us, we didn't have that approach. We really just built the business around what we had, the people we had, and then the structure came after that, I guess.
I think that's a really good point. We knew how it was going to look when we were 200 people. And we had all the gaps to fill, but we could be opportunistic. And if we met somebody who was awesome in a slightly less hot area, we'd go for the awesome person rather than trying to get someone in the hot area. And that made the difference.
That's my soundbite. That's going to be my new strapline as a rectorate. There you go. Everything that you've said there. So just to summarize, I guess, first of all, you have to be quite brave and brazen with your plan. And I think there's a lot of accidental entrepreneurs out there that are listening who are possibly growing, because they're in a great hot market. And I think you made that point, Alex. Even if there weren't hot markets, you knew that you needed those people in. And I think there's a lot to be learned from that. If you know that that's your vision. So I think it's almost like you have to, that that's your end goal. You have to work backwards from it. Is the structure, and it's proven. It's proven. So, and I think, and I can't necessarily say from a granular detail, but I think a lot of businesses that have scaled up to 15 have possibly done so, not accidentally, because, I'm not going to take anything away, but they've done it because they're in a hot market and they've not necessarily had purpose. So I think that's a really, really important point that you've made. So how did you go from doing that for somebody else to actually launching your own business? What was the leap that happened, or not a leap?
Well, I guess we always wanted to have our own business. We work really well together, and we're a great team, we think. So we've been talking about it for a while. I think there's a frustration for working for a massive Japanese business, which has got certain. Then they weren't as ambitious as us, I would say, for the business that we had. And I think once you have that track record, then you can start to approach investors.
Yeah.
And that's what we did. We flew all around the world, really. We went to London, we were in Shanghai, went all over the place with this story of what we'd done, and we got so lucky. We got an investment with Morgan Stanley and Cornerstone Global Partners, which is the bigger group, and I don't think there's many recruitment businesses in Tokyo that have that kind of backing. So yeah, we were well happy with how it turned out.
I think the market was also right, I think to get the same investment as we got at the time right now is absolutely impossible, especially because we sold, again, an idea really, we didn't have a cash flow business at the time to sell. It was just like our track record and really ourselves really. So I think now would be like, it's impossible to get the same deal that we got, but at the time the market was really at this peak. So I think we've actually got the right timing as well. I think so.
I was going to say that because it's a very hot topic when I get people approaching me who are thinking of launching on their own. That's actually a pretty big part of my footfall. Actually, they're sort of at associate director level. They're where they've grown something and they want to do it for themselves. How critical do you think the right investor is? And do you think you have to go down that investment route, or do you think people can do it themselves?
If you want to scale, you need to have investment 100%. Like otherwise, you can't have the cash flow. For us now, for instance, we started 2 years ago, and in the middle of a pandemic, we grew from nothing to, I think now we're 40. We're going to be 60 in January. Always with positive cash flow, almost from the beginning, right? But you need money, honestly.
Yeah. So, I mean, there are some examples, right, of people who've started a business with their own money, and it's now a huge business. They've completely nailed it and done brilliantly. So, of course, it's possible. But I think, it's tough to really scale a business unless you have investment.
There's been a few individuals that I've met who have gone on and eventually launched on their own, and and there's no discredit because obviously I'm a very small own managed business, but they turned down offers because they felt that at some point they would begrudge that investment and having to give away equity and everything. And what would you say to those people?
I think it depends what the business you want. I think for us, we didn't want to have a boutique, and it's never been in our mind, and we wouldn't be satisfied with a 50 people business, honestly. I think for us, we always, want to have a very big business, and eventually in the future, we like the idea of doing something regional, and expand in other countries. And to do that, you need to have investment, or if you want to do it, it will take you like 20 years or 30 years, right? And that's not, we want to do it now, really, I think, so to do that, you just have to give away equity. You just have to, I think, accept that and find the right partner. I think, that's the most important part. If you have to give equity to just the first person who walks through the door, then probably not. Maybe better to do it by yourself. But
I mean, for me, nothing wrong with a small, profitable business. If that's what you want, that's fantastic. No problems with that. I think it's just not what we want.
No,
so
I'll pick up on something that you said, Matt, actually a little bit earlier about sort of the way that you courted investors all around the world, and I think again that's where maybe people go wrong. I think it's just as important as it is finding a life partner or finding a new job. I think do shop around. Don't be afraid to do that, because it's got to feel right. And I think there's a likability aspect that the finances have to work out, but I think that there's that trust element with an investor, and that's my advice to. I've been very fortunate that I have supported plenty of startup businesses with investors that I have over here. And, without a shadow of a doubt, I've made sure that they've always had more than one dialogue going on, because I think it's important for them to do that.
Yeah, I think for us it was quite actually the process was actually quite nice, because we, we met like a lot of different people at different stages of the search, through partners, directly approaching them. And I think we actually got educated like why we were doing as well, because the first time, right, we did something like that. So you actually get better, I think, over the process by understanding the kind of nuances of an investment. I think
you just got to have a clear idea of what you want. What kind of business do you want as well? Because that's what the investor's also interested in. How's this business going to end up, right? What do you want to do? And for us, we have this track record of doing it in Tokyo. We've done it. So that's what we wanted to use. We think second time round, we've made a lot of mistakes before. You kind of learn from those. Hopefully you won't make the same ones again. If you've still got the energy to do it, which is important, then that's what we want.
No, that's definitely. So we talked about the fact that the pandemic has been, I don't want to say kinder in your part of the world, but it's been maybe less restricted. How in terms of your actual business, has it helped or hindered you, would you say?
Well, I think at the beginning it was scary because we just launched like a couple of months before, and a lot of our clients actually were in industries that have been, heavily affected, so that was worrying, honestly, after the first couple of months in February when, we had a lot of deals over the line, and actually the business was, ticking over nicely. I think at the time we already had like 10 people, I think, in the business, you know, so also from a payroll and, like fixed costs, it was something. But I think again, for us, we never blamed the market, honestly, or external factors. If things go wrong, we actually saw an opportunity in there, and for us, it turned out to be great. I think one of the reasons why we are like 40 people right now and we're able to actually grow really fast is because everybody else, like, sort of took basically like a break, and we were grinding. I mean, in the office,
I think for me there were two reasons why we did okay in the pandemic. I think one is, and I know this is not popular with everybody, but it's just how we run our business, and we're really clear with people when they join us. We don't remote work, so we want people in the office who are on board and are comfortable with that. Whereas all our competitors pretty much made the decision, the big boys, to work from home. And I think, you get a lot of 25, 26-year-olds working from home in a beautiful weather in Tokyo in summer. I don't think they're quite as productive as we were. And I think secondly, do you know what? Because of that, linked to that as well, Japanese candidates don't pick up the phone during the day because they're scared in the office to answer a phone. Right. So it was really difficult before to get hold of them. But when they were all working from home as well, I was just
we registered, like, honestly, we got a database pretty much in like 6 months or something during the pandemic, simply because people are home or they were a bit scared, or maybe the pandemic. And I think from the client side, a lot of clients, I think, because a lot of recruiters were, working from home really, or maybe recruiters that were on a draw, they just give up for 1 year. And we were able to enter like really good clients that would not have looked at Cornerstone, honestly, in a normal time. They actually looked at us, and we were, really proactive with them. And I think we enter some really key accounts that we would not have had the opportunity. But also, I think, again, there were lots of recruiters who were a bit, I think, maybe, mismanaged or were not maybe treated properly, I think, during the pandemic, from competitors. And we were like really aggressive after some key people in the market. We hired, Derek, one of the top guys in the financial industry. He's an absolute superstar, and we got him where he didn't have any offers on the table, pretty much, right, or very few. So I think we were also like, we're really, risk taker. I think we were a bit risk taker. I think
you're risk takers, but you're brave, and I think carpe diem. And I saw it over here, and the placements that I actually managed to make during 2020, which you can imagine as a rec, it was very challenging, but I did make every single placement that I made. The business owner, I was brave and brazen, and they're now absolutely streams ahead. But I do want to pick up on the point that you've made, Matt, about this work from home versus being in the office. And I'm recording this from my home, but I guess I'm not the typical sort of recruiter, in the sense that I'm late 40s and it's my own business and so on. But I think it's actually gone back. I think it's almost like we've gone full circle, because if I think back to the world pre-COVID, it would actually be I think it would be this utopia that a lot of recruiters thought they wanted. But actually, it's not. And we're a community, and we're social beings, and human beings need interaction. And we are more productive being together in an office environment than working from home. And you get the rarity, like me, who is actually more productive working from home, but that's because it's my own business. Most people are more productive because you're more accountable and you just share more information. So I think, obviously over here in the UK, we have no choice. We have to shut down. But I have these conversations all the time, and I think that there'll be a lot of leaders nodding away who've tried to create a hybrid culture, because that's what a lot of people seem to want. And my advice to those people is, especially over here, because, you know, hopefully there won't be any more lockdowns, but create this kind of empowered, it's open door, but people then do actually want to come in. They choose to come in. So it's interesting, but you seized the day, Carp Diem, didn't you?
I think so. We got nothing against businesses that want to operate in that way, and that's how they choose to do it. Or consultants or recruiters that's the lifestyle choice they want to make. But it's not for us, and we're really clear with people about it, and we really feel that made a massive difference in the main COVID times. We're all in the office, as you say, sharing information. We're a pretty team-based business.
Even on the coaching, right? I think, you know, we're technical recruiters, right? I think that's maybe an advantage, I think, for us compared maybe to other, you know, owners or directors that always grew up in, you know, in the golden times, I think, of Japanese recruitment industry, right? So I think we can add a lot actually to the people by being in the office, just doing really old fashioned, you know, you listen to a call, you give the feedback immediately about, you know, what's right, what's wrong. And, you know, I think I think that is really, you actually improve the level of the consultant way more. You can't do that on a Zoom call, you know.
It's such an important point, Alex, and I totally agree. I mean, I've been doing recruitment, believe it or not, for 23 years, and I'm still learning, because every call that you're on is unique. How can you give constructive feedback if you're not listening to those calls? And even it might just be, you know, what should I say? I don't know what to say. You know, you can't do that if you're working remotely. And I think that was always going to be the risk, particularly in what we do, because it is a sophisticated job. You know, I think if you're just a recruiter that sends CVs through portals, you probably can carry on doing that from home till the end of time. But if you're an influencer and you are a sales recruiter, you need to be around other people. So I think it's really, really important point that you've made there. So what's next for Cornerstone as we sort of think about 2022 and beyond? What's going to happen? What's your plan?
I think we've got we've got big plans, obviously. You know, I think we want to be, I mean, the end goal for Cornerstone is we want to be a major player in the recruitment markets. We want to get this business to be 200 people, again, similar size to what we did before. And actually, I think we've got this unique chance, where because we own the business, we've not got a head office anywhere setting the culture. We can do it exactly how we want. We can have a really modern recruitment business. And I think the real goal is to be a big business, but still really flexible, and to be the destination of choice for experienced recruiters.
And non-experienced.
Non-experienced too, so that's it. I think next year's going to be, we've got a big office move in January. So we've got a lot of space to fill, and that's what we're going to be doing.
Sounds good. Well, you know, if ever you're in Manchester, it's a great place to come. Where are you from originally, Matt? I do detect a bit of a northern twang.
Yeah, I'm from a place called Lytham, St Anne's, near Blackpool.
Beautiful.
Yeah, I had my own recruitment business before Tokyo in Manchester. I had an office in Manchester and an office in Birmingham, so I'm very familiar with Manchester.
My mum grew up in Lytham. There you go. Small world, eh? Well, thank you so much for being my first guest from Japan, and I hope that anyone that's listening over there, welcome, and, you know, please do feel free to subscribe and get in touch. It sounds like you have got so much advice to offer, so we'll obviously make sure that all your connection details for LinkedIn are on this episode. I'm sure you'll get lots of people locally sending you LinkedIn requests, which I hope is the case. We like to create opportunity for people. But thank you both so much for joining me today. It's been really insightful and really enjoyable too. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Cheers.
It was fun.